a village economy. The story of Rampur village. In this chapter, we will learn about different types of production activities in a village. In villages across India, farming is the main production activity. The other production activities referred to as non-farm activities include small manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc. In this chapter, we will at times come across occasional reference to our own situation or all Indian situation. For instance, when we discuss distribution of land in Rampur, we also examine what has occurred to India as a whole. Rampur village has some specific features. Many of its features are prevalent across India with some variation. Farming in Rampur. Rampur lies in the fertile alluvial plains of the Gangetic Basin in the western part of Uttar Pradesh. Along with Punjab and Haryana, western Andhra Pradesh forms a contiguous belt of agricultural prosperous region. The village is well connected with the neighboring villages and cities. Raiganj, a big village, is 3 kilometers from Rampur. Farming is the main production activity in Rampur. Majority of the working people are dependent on farming for their livelihood. Land and other natural resources. Land is the most crucial factor necessary for farm production. Land area under cultivation, however, is practically fixed. In Rampur, since 1921, there has been no expansion in land area under cultivation. By then, the nearby forest had been cleared and some of the wasteland in village were converted to cultivable land. There is no further scope to increase agriculture production by bringing new land under cultivation. There is no land that is left idle in Rampur. During the rainy season, that is, Kharif, farmers grow jowar and bajar. It was followed by cultivation of potato between October and December. In winter season, that is, Rabi, fields are sown with wheat. A part of land is under sugarcane, which is harvested once every year. To grow more than one crop on the same piece of land during the year is known as multiple cropping. It is the most common way of increasing production from land. All farmers in Rampur grow at least two main crops. Many are growing potato as a third crop. Farmers in Rampur are able to grow 3 different crops in a year due to the well-developed irrigation system. Electricity came early to Rampur. It transferred the system of irrigation. Till then, Venetian wheels were used by farmers to draw water from the wells and irrigate small area. The first few tube wells were installed by the government almost 50 years ago. Soon, however, farmers started setting up their own tube wells. As a result, by mid-1970s, the whole of the cultivated area of 264 hectares was irrigated. Apart from the riverine plains, coastal regions in our country are well irrigated. In contrast, plateau regions such as the Deccan Plateau have low levels of irrigation. Even today, a little less than 40% of the total cultivated area in the country is irrigated. In the remaining areas, farming is largely dependent on rainfall. While intensive use of natural resources like land and water has led to increased production and yields, the use of the natural resources has not always been judicious. Experience shows fertility of land is declining due to overuse, excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. The situation of water is equally alarming. Like in village Rampur, most of irrigation in India is based on tapping underground water. As a result, underground water tables have fallen rapidly across the country. As the water tables decline, farmers to drill deeper tube wells than before. The use of diesel or electricity for irrigation rises accordingly. Measuring land. The standard unit of measuring land is hectare. Though in the villages we may find land being measured in local units such as acre and cents or gunta. 1 hectare is 1000 square meters. The following table shows the land under cultivation in India in units of million hectares. Year. Cultivated area 1950 120, 1960 130, 1970 140, 1980 140, 1990 140, 2000 140, 2010 140. Land distribution in Rampur. The population of Rampur is about 2660. There are about 450 families belonging to different castes. The upper caste families own majority of the land in the village. About one-third, that is 150 families, are landless. Most of them are Dalits. In Rampur, 240 families cultivate small plots of land less than 2 hectares in size, whereas remaining cultivates more than 2 hectares of land. A few of the large farmers have land extending over 10 or more hectares. We find similar situation in India also. In 1960, Gobind was a farmer with 2.25 hectares of largely unirrigated land. He cultivated the land with the help of his 3 sons. Though they did not live very comfortably, that the family managed to feed itself with a little bit of extra income from one buffalo that the family possessed. Some years after Gobind's death, this land was divided among his 3 sons. Each one now has a plot of land that is only 0.75 hectares in size. Even with improved irrigation and modern farming methods, Gobind's sons are not able to make a living from their land. They have to look for additional work during part of the year. The distribution of farmers in India and the amount of land they cultivate are given in the following table and pie charts. Type of farmers, size of plots, percentage of farmers, percentage of cultivated area, small farmers, less than 2 hectares, 81%, 48%, more than 2 hectares, 13%, 52%. Type of farmers, distribution of land cultivated by farmers. The arrows indicate that 87% of the total farmers are cultivating only 48% of the total cultivated land. The remaining 30% of the farmers are cultivating the remaining 52% of the land. This indicates that there is no equal distribution of land among farmers. This means the distribution of cultivated land is unequal in India. Organization of production. Let us try to understand the overall process of production in Rampur. The aim of production is to produce goods and services that people need. Further, the producer requires a number of items to produce a good or service. These can be classified as follows. The first requirement is land and other natural resources such as water, forest, minerals. The second requirement is labor, that is, people who will do the work. The third requirement is capital, that is, the variety of inputs required at every stage during production. The items which comes under capital, are as follows: tools, machines, buildings. Tools and machines range from very simple tools such as a farmer's plow to sophisticated machines such as generators, turbines, computer automated machines, etc. They are not used up or consumed immediately in production process. They are called fixed or physical capital because this can be used in production for several years. Raw materials and money required. The various raw materials such as the yarn used by the weaver and the clay used by the potter are used up in production. Also, some money is required to buy other necessary materials for production and make payments for completing the production. It takes time to complete the production and then sell these goods or services in the market. Only then money flow back into the production process. The requirement for raw materials and money is therefore called working capital. This is different from physical capital because unlike tools, machines or buildings, these are used up in the production cycle. The fourth requirement is knowledge and enterprise. To be able to use land, labor and physical capital in a meaningful way to produce some goods or services. Knowledge of the process of production and confidence is essential. Owners of the physical capital or managers hired by them provide this knowledge. In our society, most goods and services are produced for sale in the market. Hence, the entrepreneurs who produce for the market have to plan, organize and manage. These entrepreneurs could be farmers, shopkeepers, small-scale manufacturers, service providers such as doctors, lawyers, etc. or large companies. Their goods or services are bought by people. They may earn profit or could suffer a loss. Every production is organized by people or entrepreneurs, combining the elements of land, labor and physical capital. These are known as factors of production. Labor for the farm. After land, labor is the next necessary factor for production. Farming requires a great deal of hard work. Medium and large farmers hire from laborers to work on their fields. From laborers come either from landless families or families cultivating small plots of land. Farm laborers do not have a right over the crops grown on the land. They have been employed to do the work. Wages can be in cash or in kind, that is, crop. Wages vary widely from region to region, from crop to crop, etc. There is also wide variation in the duration of employment. A farm laborer might be employed on a daily basis or on contract for particular farm activity like harvesting or for whole year. Dhala is a landless farm laborer who works on daily wages in Rampur. Dhala's wages are less than what the government has set as in a minimum wages for laborers. There is heavy competition for work among the farm laborers in Rampur, so people agree to work for lower wages, with large farmers increasingly railing on machines like tractors, threshers, harvesters. The number of days of work available to a worker is very low in rural areas. In the whole of last year, he got less than 5 months of work on the farm. In periods when no work is available, Dhala and many like him have applied to village panchayat for work under MGHREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Daily wages for different farm activities in Andhra Pradesh in December 2011. Workers: ploughing, sowing, weeding, transplanting, harvesting, winnowing, threshing, picking cotton. Male: 214, 197, 215, 0, 164, 168, 152, 0. Female: 0, 152, 130, 143, 126, 124, 118, 136. The table gives average daily wages that are paid for different farm activities to workers in Andhra Pradesh. However, there is a lot of variation across regions. A woman worker gets rupees 136 for picking cotton for a full day. Certain tasks like ploughing are done primarily by men, so there is no wage recorded for women. Tasks such as transplanting paddy and picking cotton are primarily done by women. There are certain production activities that are done by both men and women. The wages for men are higher than women, even when they are doing the same job. The state government fix a common minimum wage to be paid by all employers, that is, public and private, within the state. Capital: arranging physical and working capital. We have an idea about how modern farming involves high-yielding variety seeds, assured irrigation, fertilizers, and pesticides. This, in turn, means that the farmers require a sufficient amount of capital for production and therefore money. Let us see how farmers arrange for physical capital and working capital required in farming. Most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the working capital. They borrow money from large farmers or the village money lenders or the traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. The rate of interest on such loans is very high. Being a small farmer, Savita has to face a number of problems if she wants to cultivate wheat of her 1 hectare of land. To purchase seeds, fertilizers and pesticides for cultivating, she has no money. It will be highly difficult to get a loan from a bank. So, she approached Tejpal, a large farmer of her village, for getting loan. He agreed to give her a loan at 36% per annum interest rate, which is a high rate for 4 months, plus on a condition for her giving a manual labor to his field. Still, Savita agrees to these terms as she knew getting a loan for a small farmer is quite a difficult task. In contrast to the small farmers, the medium and large farmers generally have their own savings from farming. Thus, they are able to arrange for seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, payment to laborers, etc. The working capital needed for farming. They have tractors also. They use this for ploughing and sowing their farms and hire out these tractors to other small farmers. All such farmers have many tube wells to irrigate their farms. These machines are all part of physical capital for farming. Surplus or loss for the farmer. Let us suppose that the farmer have produced wheat on their lands using the 3 factors of production. They retain a part of the wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus. Some farmers have little surplus wheat because the total production is small. So generally, it is the medium and large farmers who supply wheat to the wholesale market. The traders at the market yard buy and sell it further to shopkeepers in the towns and cities. Tejpal, the large farmer, has a surplus of 350 quintals of wheat from all his land. He sells the surplus wheat at the nearby market yard and has good earnings. Last year, Tejpal had put most of the money in his bank account. He used the savings for lending to small farmers who were in need of a loan. He also used the savings to arrange for the growing capital for farming in the next season. This year, he plans to use his earnings to buy another tractor. Like Tejpal, other large and medium farmers sell the surplus from produce. Some farmers might also use the savings to buy trucks, cattle, etc. These constitute the capital for non-farm activities. There is often a loss in farm activities, especially when crops are damaged because of floods, pests, etc. The other risk is sudden fall in price of agriculture produce. Surplus and capital for production. Consider 3 farmers. Each has grown wheat on his land, though the production is different as in column 2. To analyze the situation faced by different farmers, we need to assume that some conditions are the same for all. To keep things simple, let us suppose the following condition. The consumption of wheat by each farmer family is the same. The whole of surplus wheat this year is used as seeds for working capital for the next year's production by all the farmers. They also have land to do so. All suppose production output is twice the working capital used in production in all the farms. There is no sudden loss in production. Farmer 1. Year. Production. Consumption. Surplus equals to production consumption. Capital for the next year. Year 1. 100, 40, 60, 60. Year 2. 120, 40, 80, 80. Year 3. 160, 40, 120, 120. Farmer 2. Year. Production, consumption, surplus, capital for the next year. Year 1. 80, 40, 40, 40. Year 2. 80, 40, 40, 40. Year 3. 80, 40, 40, 40. Farmer 3. Year. Production, consumption, surplus, capital for the next year. Year 1. 40, 40, 20, 40. Year 2. 40, 40, 40, 0. Year 3. 0, 0, 0, 0. From above tables, the production of wheat by 3 farmers over the 3 years are as follows. The production of farmer 1 goes on increasing. For farmer 2, the production remains the same, and the production of farmer 3 goes on decreasing year by year. Farmer 3 has no savings in the second year, so he has no capital to start production. He will have to approach many landlenders for money to start production. Farming sector also includes crops like tea, coffee, rubber plantations, and fruit orchards. Non-farm activities in Rampur. Apart from farming, which is the main production activity, there are some non-farm production activities. Only 25% of people working in Rampur are engaged in activities other than agriculture. Dairy, the other common activity. Dairy is a common activity in many families of Rampur. People feed their buffaloes on various kinds of grass and jowar and bajar fodder cultivated during the rainy season. The milk is sold in Raiganj, from where the milk is transported to faraway places. The production factories of this activity are briefly described. Land. Own shed in the village. Labor. Family labor, especially women to look after the buffaloes. Physical capital. Buffaloes purchased at the cattle fair. Working capital. Feed from their land. Some medicines are purchased. Small scale manufacturing in Rampur. Unlike the manufacturing that takes place in the big factories in the towns and cities, manufacturing in Rampur involves very special production methods and are done on a small scale. They are carried out mostly at home or in the fields with the help of family labor. Mishri Lal has purchased a mechanical sugarcane crushing machine run on electricity and prepares jaggery. Earlier, sugarcane was crushed by using bullocks, but these days people prefer to do it by machines. He uses the sugarcane he has cultivated and also buys sugarcane from others and processes it into jaggery. He sells into traders. In this process, Mishral makes a small profit. Mishrilal production is in small scale. He also buys from others the sugar and therefore his mechanism to provide him with a minimum support price. He sells to traders of nearby areas, which results in transportation expenses. So he is unable to increase his profit. He could not face loss when the price of jaggery in the market are decreased sharply. The shopkeepers of Rampur. The traders of Rampur buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities and sell them in the village. Small general stores in the village sell a wide range of items like rice, wheat, sugar, oil, pen, pencils, even some cloth. A few of the families whose houses are close to the bus stand have used a part of the space to open small shops. They sell eatables, some sweets, cool drinks, etc. In our country, a large section of people are self-employed like farmers, shopkeepers, hawkers, etc. There are owners because they have to plan and organize and take the risk of production of goods and services. At the same time, they also provide their own labor to manage the process. Transport, a fast developing sector. A variety of vehicles on the road connect Rampur to Raiganj. Rickshawalas, tangawalas, jeep tractor, truck drivers, and people driving the traditional bullock cart and bhoge are people in the transport services. They ferry people and goods from one place to other and in return get paid for it. The number of people involved in transportation has grown over the last several years. Kishore is a farm laborer. Like other such laborers, Kishore found it difficult to the wages that he received. A few years back, Kishore took a loan from the bank. He bought a buffalo with this money. He now sells the buffalo's milk. Further, he has attached a wooden cart to his buffalo and uses it to transport various items. Once a week, he goes to the Ganges to bring clay for the potter, or sometimes he goes to town with a load of jaggery or other commodities. Every month, he gets some work in transport. As a result, Kishore is able to earn more than what he used to do some years back. Kishore's physical capital includes a buffalo, wooden cart, and he has a loan from the bank which could be his own working capital. Summing up, farming is the main production activity in the village. Over the years, there have been many important changes in the way farming is practiced. These have allowed the farmers to produce more crops from the same amount of land. This is an important achievement since land is fixed and scarce. There is urgent need to revive the methods of production and ensure sustainable use of the resources. Farming needs much more of capital. The medium and large farmers are able to use their own savings from production to arrange for capital during the next season. The small farmers, who constitute about 87% of total farmers in India, find it difficult to obtain capital. Because of the small size of their plots, the production is not enough. Labor being the most abundant factory of production, it would be ideal if the new ways of farming used much more labor. The labor looking for opportunities is thus migrating to neighboring villages, towns, and cities. Some labor has entered the non-farm sector in the village. In 2009 to 2010, out of every 10 workers in the rural areas in India, 32 are engaged in non-farm activities. This includes the workers who are employed as a part of MGNREGA on various objects. MGNREGA has provided some support to the incomes of rural workers. Unlike farming, non-farming activities require little land. Some people with some amount of capital can set up non-farm activities. One can either use his own savings, but more than often has to take a loan. It is important that loan be available at low rate of interest, so that even people without savings can start some non-farm activity. Another thing that is essential for expansion of non-farm activities is to have markets. In Rampur, we saw the neighboring villages, towns, and cities provide the markets for wheat, jaggery, etc. As more villages get connected to towns and cities through roads, transport, and telephone, it is possible that the opportunities for non-farm activities, production activities in the village would increase in the coming areas.